Yo, 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 what up, everybody? How's it going? This is yours truly, Rama Screen, and right now it's Friday, September 24. I just woke up. I didn't get much sleep last night because of editing video reviews. But yeah, I woke up to this crazy, crazy news that we're gonna be discussing today, and I also posted the polling on this recently as well to get your results on the poll. But before that, let's dive in. So this is from Hollywood Reporter, and we're gonna get to the also the Twitter reactions to this. Marvel, all right, Marvel Entertainment has filed a lawsuit against um, the estate. Hey, Alex Vlad, what's up? What's up? What's up, Alex Vlad, and also Vaporware, what's going on? Uh, Tell me more. Yes. Here's right. So this is complicated issue, right? When it comes to copyrights, who gets to own the rights to which character or which property? Um, and so this is a battle of if you want to put it into one simple term, it's a battle of business. It's a battle of business. Who gets to profit? Who gets to profit off of these characters? It comes down to that basically. So Marvel is filing a lawsuit against the estates of Stan Lee, of Steve Ditko, of Gene Colan. These comic book legends already died, but their estates are the ones handling their businesses. And they run they run their Twitter accounts. That's why the Stan Lee Twitter account is still active. So it's estates, their heirs, their family members and stuff like that. So let's get right to it. Disney's Marvel unit is suing to hold on to full control of Avengers characters, including Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, Thor, and others. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. A lot to lose. The complaints which the Hollywood Reporter has obtained come against the heirs of some late comic book geniuses, including Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Gene Colan. Gene Colan, I believe he was not a writer; he was an illustrator. He was the artist that drew these characters. And they both. I mean, all three of them have already passed. So the estates to take care of their businesses. The suits seek declaratory relief that these blockbuster characters are ineligible for copyright termination as works made for hire. If Marvel loses, Disney would have to share ownership of characters worth billions. Okay, so at least that's the upside. You can say, hey, if you want to side with the comic book heirs, you can argue like, hey, Marvel's not gonna like completely lose the characters. They just, because Disney owns Marvel, they just, the studio would just have to share the profits, share the ownership, share the rights with these heirs, with these estates. You can argue that if you are on the side of the Steve Ditko, Stan Lee, and Gene Colan estate. Last month, the administrator of Ditko's estate filed a notice of termination on Spider-Man, which first appeared in comic book form in 1962. Under the termination provision of copyright law, authors or their heirs can reclaim the rights once granted to publishers after waiting a statutory set period of time. According to the termination notice, Marvel would have to give up Ditko's rights to its iconic characters in June 2023. So we're about less than 6 months away from 2022. So it's coming up pretty soon. Marvel is facing other termination notices. For example, Larry Lieber, who worked at Marvel as a writer too, filed termination notices over creations this past May. The heirs of the comic book creators, including Black Widow creator Don Rico, are being represented by Mark Toberev, who once famously represented Superman creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster in an unsuccessful termination attempt against DC. Yes, just a bit above blast from the past. Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster estates also attempted the same thing over Superman with DC, and they lost. They lost. So DC continued to own the rights to Superman. So that's what happened. So that could be like, I guess Marvel's lawyers, whatever, they could use that as a precedent, if you will. They'd be like, hey, there's this thing that already happened, so they could use that as part of their case, as part of their defense. DC saved off termination by counterclaiming against Toberoff and asserting tortious interference of its rights. The publisher was represented by Dan, who just happens to be representing Disney now in its effort to keep rights to various Avengers characters. Obviously, this character is also like a freaking free advertisement for all these esquires and attorneys. Petro Kelly is filing several lawsuits in New York and California against Leiber, Don Heck, Patrick Ditko, Don Rico, Keith Detweiler. The cases will focus on the creation of famous comic book characters and who should be deemed the statutory author. The litigation figures to focus on the Marvel method, a loose collaborative working atmosphere where initial ideas were briefly discussed with artists responsible for taking care of the details. All right, so let's pause here real quick. Vaporware says Disney does not share, they take. That's true. And you know what? I think that's, even though I'm siding with Scarlett Johansson on her lawsuit, I mean, the odds are like it's going up against freaking Mount Everest if you were going up against Disney. No matter how famous you are, and Scarlett Johansson is freaking famous and she's got money of her own. But in the end, it just more than often Disney wins. But we'll see. Right now we can say like, hey, just like Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster's, they lost to DC. These estates, they're gonna lose to Disney. They're gonna lose to Marvel. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. Peppa Pig the Goat says hello. What's up, Peppa Pig? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, a guy who is very knowledgeable when it comes to copyrights. Maybe some of you do. And it's a very complicated issue. I mean, like in the past, if let's just use some examples. Remember how over the years we wanted another Hulk movie, right? It's like, oh, come on now. How come Hulk doesn't get his own new standalone movie, and freaking Thor gets 3, freaking Captain America gets 3, everybody else gets, like, Spider-Man gets multiple times, because, I think for the longest time, Universal Pictures owns the rights to Hulk movie, so, that's I think the last time it was 2008 with Edward Norton, and Universal Pictures, the one that gets to distribute that. So they kind of own the rights to that. I'm not sure the details on that specifically, but that's part of the complication as to why we have not seen another new Hulk movie all this time. And before Marvel got bought off by Disney, Marvel, sold their distribution rights to a bunch of studios, right? Paramount Pictures were the ones who get to distribute Thor movies, I think Captain America 2, and then of course Universal Pictures with Hulk, and of course Fox, 20th Century Fox back then, before they get bought by Disney, they own the rights to Marvel properties like X-Men and Deadpool, and so trying to get all these characters into one place under one umbrella is a tricky thing. It's a tricky business because you have to deal with these guys. You have to deal with the estates. You have to deal with the heirs of the comic book writers. Trying to also hold control of what the comic book writers created. And so let's see. Peppa Pig the Goat says here, I don't think it will be a big blow for Disney. Sony owns the movie rights, and comic sales haven't been good in years. Yes, Sony and Disney, Disney owns Marvel Studios. So Disney and Sony kind of share on the big screen, right? Tom Holland live action Spider-Man movies, they kind of share, that. But you're right, as far as the comic books go, I don't think Spider-Man has been doing really well. but don't take my word for it. But I'll take your word for it, Peppa Pig the Goat. Um, how comes Ditko is suing now? That's a good question. It doesn't say here in the article why and how come they as in the estates or the heirs of Stanley Ditko, Stanley, Steve Ditko, and Gene Colan, all of a sudden, like out of the blue, they're like, oh yeah, we want to, file this termination notice on these characters. We want to own it back. Like I don't know what led up to now that they suddenly decide to do that. But that's a good question. Oh, maybe this is the answer, right? Let's see here. I think there's this one here. According to the termination notice, here you go. Marvel would have to give up Ditko's rights to its iconic characters in June 2023. So I'm guessing the answer to your question, Peppa Pig the Goat, is that there's an expiration date to these characters, and that makes sense because I believe Ghost Rider also had that same problem a few years ago. Remember that? I don't know who ended up owning the rights now to Ghost Rider, but when it comes to these kinds of things, apparently there's an expiration date to it, and so I guess I don't know why they want to do it now as opposed to 2023. Who knows? But they wanna have full control of these characters as opposed to Marvel having full control of it. But now let's get to the Twitter reactions. You'll be interested to see this. I've been monitoring the responses of the fans on Twitter about these news, and many of them are not happy. Understandably so, because they are fearing the result. They fear that if the control or the rights go back to the estates or the heirs of the comic book writers, that means we're not gonna get to see another Spider-Man movie, another Doctor Strange movie, stuff like that. When in reality, according to this article, it says if Marvel loses, Disney would have to share ownership of the characters worth billions. I'm speculating that means that there could still be another Spider-Man movie. There could still be another Doctor Strange movie. But, it's something that they would have to share ownership with, instead of having full control rights to. And I'm speculating that means if Marvel loses, if there's going to be another Spider-Man movie, then Disney have to work closely with the estates, with the owners, or with the heirs of these comic book writers, as opposed to just, being among themselves within the Marvel Studios, which is owned by Disney. Yeah. Peppa Pig the Goat says, "Oh wow, I thought Disney fully had the rights to the toys and the comics." Yeah, right. I'm just shocked as you are, man. I'm just shocked as you are. So I posted the poll on Twitter. It's about 25 minutes ago. It hasn't gained a lot of traction, but I posted, do you think it should be Marvel or the comic book writers' heirs who get to own the rights to Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange? I put Doctor twice here. My bad. That was my mistake. So I posted it also on the YouTube channel. But I don't think it has gained a response yet. But we'll come back to that. So, but I wanna go through the reactions from the fans here. You know what? Let me just fix this. This bugs me. If I mention Doctor Strange twice like that, it just bugs me. So let me just do this while I'm at it. So I don't know why I typed Doctor twice ago. Like I said, I just woke up. There you go. Marvel. So we'll have to come back to that result. There you go. All right. There. That gives me a peace of mind now that there's no typo. Okay, so reactions from the Twitter here. Twitter sphere. Let's go to top. Is this the top? Okay. So Gio Wayne says, hashtag F Steve Ditko and his pretty childish ego. Just give me MCU and Spider-Man content that it So Blue Soldier Boy had to correct Geo, buddy. I don't know how to tell you this, but Steve Ditko passed away 3 years ago. So I think some people have the mistaken assumption that Steve Ditko himself, you know, rise up from the grave and file, termination notice on these characters. So, leave Steve Ditko alone, okay? Let him rest in peace. So, okay. Let's go to the reactions to this one because discussing film does have a lot of followers. So let's go to the bottom of it. So it says here, if successful, Marvel would lose rights to Spider-Man in June 2023. So that's the expiration date according to that article. Here you go. Yes. So Safe is clarifying. If not, it's not Marvel Studios. It's Marvel in general. Marvel Entertainment, meaning, no Sony, no comics, no anime shows, nothing. So it's yours. Kwame Brown says Steve Ditko's heirs knowing they can reclaim Spider-Man and then sell the rights back to Marvel for billions. Would be a smart move. It will be a smart move. It's their character, so they should reclaim him, and I hope they do. Vapor War says Daniel Petrocelli is high-profile attorney for Disney that is batting 500 in success rating. Yeah, that article was like I said, that article was like free advertisement for all these lawyers. They keep mentioning all these attorneys, man. I mean, you could not ask for a better publicity than, being on a freaking Hollywood Reporter article. I would love to see Disney lose for a change, but that ain't happening. I think there's an interesting comment that I saw earlier. Let's go back to that. Where is that? That guy made some interesting point, and I want to get to his opinion. Yes, Jack McBrien says this same situation happened with DC and Jerry Siegel, the creator of Superman. DC won. Ironically, the same lawyer representing Marvel now represented DC, and the same lawyer representing Lee Ditko estate represented Siegel. So history does not bode well for Lee Ditko here. So it could be like the same result, but we'll see. People hand wringing over, oh no, if Ditko's family gets rights for Spider-Man, then there'll be no more Spider-Man. Maybe think for a while why you value a corporate character over human beings. Ritesh says, I'm focusing all my willpower into manifesting a win for the Ditko estate here. Please let this precedent happen. Let's go. If the Ditko estates win without the D, I know. I am guilty of typos too sometimes, so I'm not going to be too harsh on this guy. If the Ditko estates win, that means the cancellation terminations of the comics, all upcoming TV, film projects, cancellation of games, cancellation of merchandise, closure of theme parks. Not necessarily so. Not necessarily so. It just means that the estates would have it means that the estates would get to decide, what to do with these characters as far as comics, films, and merchandise and theme parks go. Amelia says, it is really something to see all the fans in the replies here actively rooting for the bazillion-dollar mega corporation to crush the family of Steve Ditko, who died with almost no money to his name, the right into the dirt. So obviously, Amelia is siding with the estates. Myth says, 1, Spider-Man won't be gone. It just won't be owned by Marvel. Instead, the estates of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko would have the rights to their characters back and would decide how it will be licensed, published, and handled. 2, people should be compensated for their work. So it's a reasonable argument here on the side of the estates. Vaporware 2000 says Ditko's family, Stanley's estate, and others will accept their settlement agreements with wide, greedy smiles. That's a potential result to all this shenanigan. Yes, there could be settlement instead. Um, if Steve Ditko's estate really is trying to get the rights to Spider-Man, then Disney knows there's only one lawyer who can help. Yes, yes. Matt Murdock to the rescue. I want to see Matt Murdock at court against the estate. um, Here's for the legally inept people. Oh, come on. Why do you have to insult people like that? Ditko and Lee's estates are simply responding to Marvel. Ditko and Lee do not want to take away the characters from movies. They simply wish to be paid in compensation for the use of their intellectual property. Again, another reasonable argument on the side of the estates. I mean, let's keep it real. Marvel Entertainment, or Disney that owns Marvel, they did not create these characters. Who created these characters? Ditko, Lee, and Gene, all those guys. So it makes sense, or it's reasonable for them to say, hey, how come we're not getting paid? It's not necessarily it's like it's not asking for more. It's just asking like maybe their fair share. But I'm just I'm throwing my 2 cents in there. And if that's the argument, then why not? I mean, if Disney or Marvel are profiting billions off of these characters every year from merchandise, from theme parks, from what have you, it's only fair that the estates get some percentage. So and it's only fair if the the percentage is residual. It's not just like a one-time thing or a one-off thing. Hernandez says, y'all acting if Ditko's estate getting control of his creations meaning the end of the MCU. Y'all think they won't want these Marvel characters to appear in more movies? Bruh. They'll keep them around. The mouse will just have to pay for them now. Anik says, of course they need to show more respect to the creators, but seeing that both Stan Lee and Steve Ditko were so happy to see their characters on the big screen before they passed, puts this move for termination in a very bad light, using Ditko's name like this. Another fair argument. They're basically Anik says, hey, Stan Lee in particular, before he passed a couple years ago, Stan Lee was showing up, cameo appearances in all these movies. He was happy to show up in these movies, and he was happy to do publicity for the merchandise, for the theme parks. He was. I never saw, at least for me, never saw once that Stan Lee was not happy about how Disney or Marvel were handling Spider-Man or Iron Man. Never once did I see that. Did you? I didn't see that. So this is a fair argument. So on the side of Marvel, of course, saying, hey, come on now, that's not cool, using Ditko and Stan Lee's name to make this termination notice move. So fair argument. Vaporware 2000 says they are getting paid based upon their original contractual agreements. That's true. Chris Parker says, I see lots of confused people. Understand with that headline. Basically, the heirs to Stan Lee and Steve Ditko filed motion to Marvel and Disney that thank you copyright law, they can claim ownership back in 2023. Marvel is suing to prevent that. Yeah, that's basically the essence of that lawsuit. Stephen Cross says, Ditko's estate winning would be better for creators. it would not mean less Spider-Man. It would mean paying Ditko's estate for the characters he helped create. But they're probably gonna lose if you look at the precedent that's been set, which is, Siegel Shuster versus DC. So yeah, mixed responses here. Mixed responses between I'm siding with the estates versus I'm siding with Marvel Entertainment. Um, it'll be interesting to see the result to this lawsuit. Again, they still have till 2023, June 2023, but it seems like Marvel is already scared. It's like, no, let this not be happening. And Steve Ditko's estate is like, yes, let this happen now. Sooner the better. Jet here says fanboy derangement is something to see, but in point of fact, Ditko's estate winning would not mean the end of Spider-Man, but rather that the estates would then license for a fee the use of the character by Disney. The way Stephen King licenses his novels for adaptation. Good point. Peppa Pig the Goat says, my friend said if they did get the rights back, the villains would still be owned by Disney. Interesting. So you're saying that the Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Iron Man will revert back to the estates or the heirs, but you said that the villains, like freaking Doc Ock, right? Green Goblin, all those guys will still be owned by Disney. That's interesting. That really, wow. I wonder how that's gonna play out between Disney and the heirs or the estates after 2023. If they have to start working together, about the next movie or the next theme park stuff or the next merchandise stuff, because like you said, it's kind of split now between them over these characters, the villains and the heroes. Interesting point. Thank you for sharing that. Ditko created these characters. The estates deserves them. Yep. Vaporware 2000 says this litigation will be dragged out longer than the life expectancy of some of us here today. That's also a possibility. These lawsuits, especially relating to copyrights and ownership and business related lawsuits, and it could take years. So definitely there's a possibility that the result might not even happen, as soon as 2023 comes around. Kevin Feige going after Ditko's heirs. If Disney had not effed with copyright laws, Spider-Man would have entered public domain last year, and Ditko's estates would not have a claim. I'm not so sure about that. Maybe some of you guys might be able to dig up some, maybe double check on that, whether that is a fact or not. Disney to Ditko's estate. Army of lawyers. Kevin Feige talking to Ditko's heirs. Walter White. When Disney loses the lawsuit, Ditko's estate gets a call from Zack Snyder, and Spider-Man is allowed to appear in Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and 3. MFs really think that if Steve Ditko's family gets the rights to a character they deserve to own, Marvel as a company will effing collapse and Spider-Man's future will be ruined? Like, bro, all this means is that Disney gets less money. Like, chill. Peppa Pig the Goat says Friday the 13th is in lawsuit hell. Oh yeah? I'm not too knowledgeable on the lawsuit over Friday the 13th, but I'll take your word for it. But yeah, these lawsuits can take forever. Definitely. Jason Einman says, and I hope the Ditko family gets it back. Stick it to the man, by which I mean $1 billion company. So, all right, so I'll stop at this. Basically, it's interesting that, just this year alone, we got Scarlett Johansson suing Disney. And then we got the estates of Ditko and all these comic book writers, heirs, filing termination notice. And it just, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it seems like the little guys, well, not so little, especially Scarlett, but people are fighting back. People are like standing up to Disney and Marvel. And it's like, hey, come on now, that ain't right. That ain't right. Where's my pay? Where's my share? So I can't say I blame them. I can't say I blame them. Maybe we are divided when it comes to who should win in those cases, right? Including this one. And that's okay if we have differences of opinions on that. But I'm not gonna blame Scarlett or Ditko's estates for like going up or standing up to Disney or Marvel. And it's like, hey, I deserve my cut. You do you, boo. You do you, boo. If you think you have a strong case, go for it. Go for it. So I think, what do I have notification for? Okay. Somebody responded to the poll. They should just settle this, agree to share the rights, and call it a day. You know what? That's not a bad idea, Ben Meyer. That's not a bad idea at all. So, all right, you guys, I'm gonna go get some lunch. I am starving right now. It's 12:26 and I haven't eaten yet. Thank you, Vaporware 2000, Peppa Pig Goat, Alex Vlad, all of you guys that have chatted with me on this live stream. And what do you guys think? What do you all think about this this lawsuit? What do you all think about this? What do you all think about this case? Which side are you with? The estates or Marvel Entertainment? And why? And why? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. One last comment here. Peppy Pig the Goat says, good vibes. Good vibes. Yeah, good vibes, Peppy the Goat. Vaporware, last comment. Attorney Daniel Petroselli is arguing the longest running court case in U.S. history. Steven Schlesinger Inc. versus the Walt Disney Company. I have to Google that. I apologize. I'm not knowledgeable about that case. I'll take your word for it. But yeah, it seems like this guy Petroselli is the go-to attorney for these for these cases. So we'll see the result. Thank you so much for chatting with me. And for those of you who didn't get to chat, share your thoughts in the comment section below about this case. Which side are you with? All right? And always subscribe. Let's rock this.